galvanizing to hear the voice of youth. This forum is coming to an end, at least in this conference room here at the UN headquarters. However, I'm sure that the debates and interactions will continue among yourselves and your organizations, communities, and governments, networks, and through social media. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite the Undersecretary General for Economic and Social Affairs, Mr. Hongbo, to make a closing statement.
Thank you, Mr. President. Madam Administrator, Mr. SG's Special Representative of Youth, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to begin by thanking Ambassador Joon, Permanent Representative of the Republic of Korea, for inviting me here today and for convening this very important forum. It has been my honor to attend many ECOSOC youth forums over the years, and each time I'm impressed by the motivation and commitment of the young people who attend. This year has been no different. The energy you have put into the past 2 days of discussions have been intense. Member states, young people, and the United Nations have come together to collaborate and to partner. You have put forward ideas and initiatives that can help to make the 2030 Agenda a reality. We must harness this energy and build on the momentum as we move forward together in our 15 years journey. At the end of our journey, our success will be measured by the depth and the breadth of a positive change brought to the lives of the world's most vulnerable and marginalized. It will be measured by the levels of equity, equality, and inclusion across our societies, by the strength of social, political, and cultural institutions. And it will be framed by shared responsibility. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this forum has highlighted the importance of engaging young people in the management and development of our shared world. From employment to peace building, from voluntarism to electoral participation, from digital activism to sport, youth engagement in every aspect of life is crucial to sustainable development. Over the past 2 days, you have discussed issues and ideas which cut right to the core of sustainable development. Gender equality, health, inclusion, participation, education, employment. These are issues which affect us all. And without these, sustainable development is really impossible. Beginning tomorrow and over the course of 8 days, the Commission for Social Development will be considering many of these themes as it deliberates on rethinking and strengthening social development in the contemporary world. I'm hopeful that those of you who participate will carry forward the energy of this forum, bridging this forum's discussion with the work of the Commission, and ensuring that the perspective of youth is represented. One of the core issues discussed here and the persistent challenge faced by youth across the world is a crisis of unemployment. I'm delighted that the United Nations has come together to launch the global initiative on decent jobs for youth, ensuring that young people have access to decent jobs and the means to stable livelihoods is a fundamental building block of a sustainable development. Ladies and gentlemen, the task at hand is great. As you have reiterated during this forum, whether or not we succeed will be a testament to how well we have worked together in developing and implementing our development agenda from the local to the global levels. Ministers, policymakers, young people, together we can bring life to the 2030 agenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wu Hongbo. On behalf of the Council, I'd like to thank you and DESA for your support and commitment in making this Youth Forum a great success. I now invite the Administrator of the United Nations Development Program, Ms. Helen Clark, to make a statement.
Thank you, Mr. President. My colleague Wu Hongbo, the Special Envoy of the Secretary General on Youth, Ministers and youth delegates. It's always very hard to come in at the end of a meeting like this, which has clearly been very energized and had a lot of lively debate. And I know that your focus has been on the new global agenda, Agenda 2030. There's probably not much you don't know about Agenda 2030 after 2 days of intense focus on it. And that is good because it is tackling the big challenges and the big opportunities for youth. It's also good that young people were very much part of shaping the new agenda. Youth participated in the many national consultations which the UN Development System, led by UNDP, facilitated around the world. There was the UN Major Group for Children and Youth, which had a lot of input. And then, of course, there was the huge online survey, My World, where more than 10 million people responded saying what they would want to see in the new global agenda. And actually, about 77% of the 10 million who responded were under 30 years of age. So you can see that through social media, it really is possible to very widely engage with youth on the big global themes. So I think all that input has helped to make sure that the new agenda really is addressing the issues important for youth, but also affirming the role that young people must play as agents of change in building a better world. Now, I always say in speeches on Agenda 2030 that writing agendas in a way is the easy thing. The hard thing is to actually implement them and get results. And that's, again, I think where the role of young people is so important. Your participation, your engagement, your holding people to account is a very important part of making sure that Agenda 2030 goes ahead. You have in your various sessions looked at some of the critical issues for youth in the new agenda, and let me signal just briefly 4 broad groupings of priorities. Firstly, I think jobs, livelihoods, entrepreneurship, quality education and skills, these are so basic. Basic to a life out of poverty for young people born into homes with very, very low income. But actually these things matter for youth in every society, to have the relevant skills and education, to be able to enter the workforce on your own terms and make a contribution. And UNDP is very pleased to be part of the initiative which was launched here at the Youth Forum by the Director General of the ILO, the UN Global Initiative on Decent Jobs for Youth. And we hope that it really will engage the leaders of countries in action on youth employment, because youth are disproportionately unemployed in our world. We hope it will promote better national policies and interventions and actions for youth employment, and help share best practice about what really works in opening up opportunity in the workforce for youth. Second broad area, which is extremely important, is access to the health services that youth are looking for, and that includes, of course, with respect to sexual and reproductive health and rights, which is so important for youth empowerment and for determining one's destiny. Clearly, gender equality and the empowerment of girls and women are a critical part of the new agenda, mainstreamed right through it. And it is a truism that no society can reach its full potential if it leaves half its population behind because of gender. So this is just so critical to see girls and women with equal opportunities and rights. And my final broad point would be the importance of the new agenda on inclusion. It talks about peaceful and inclusive societies, inclusive of all of us in all our diversity in humankind, and of societies in which young people have the space and the right to engage in civic and political and other affairs. Now, next month, UNDP is going to launch a new global project on youth employment for development and peace. And we will be using our active presence in 168 countries and territories to support the inclusion of youth in development very directly. We will be scaling up our support for youth entrepreneurship and employment, civic engagement and public and political participation. We will give special attention to young women and to youth from marginalised groups. And we will also be working closely with youth movements, organisations and networks. We've had quite a bit of experience in a lot of countries in helping to open up space for youth and open up opportunities. Many examples even in the middle of crisis, as in Yemen or Syria today. If you go to our websites, you will see examples of fantastic work being done with youth, youth in emergency jobs, youth supporting their community, youth accessing vocational training. Life does go on even in the middle of crisis, and our aim is to enable it to go on with as much dignity as possible. We were very pleased to be in the Secretary-General Envoy's hometown of Oman last year with the Global Forum on Youth, Peace and Security. And what a triumph to have a new Security Council resolution, 2250, on youth, peace and security. Conflict is a major obstacle to development wherever it breaks out, and it is scarring the life of youth and their communities in a lot of places around our world. So it is so important that the Security Council of the United Nations has affirmed the role that young people can play in building peace. This is very, very critical. On inclusion and diversity, we have been supporting youth-focused human rights campaigns, such as the one called Purple My School, which aims to create safe spaces for LGBTI youth in schools throughout Asia. So, to sum up, at UNDP, we will continue to work for the full alignment of youth policies with national development priorities, for including young people in national dialogues, and for the full engagement of youth with these SDGs. We will work with partners to overcome the barriers to youth progress, to act against discrimination against youth, and to support the expansion of civic and political space. and we hope that you will be able to engage with us one way or another in the coming years around youth empowerment initiatives. We invite you all to stay in touch with us via social media, on Twitter at UNDP, at UNDP4Youth, and please also use Helen Clark at UNDP as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Clark, for your statement. And on behalf of the Council, I'd like to thank UNDP and all the UN resident coordinator offices around the world for supporting youth representatives' participation at this forum. I now invite Secretary General's Envoy on Youth, Mr. Ahmad Alhendawi, to make a concluding statement.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Excellency, Mr. President of the ECOSOC, Mr. Woo Hongbo, Undersecretary General of the Economic and Social Affairs of the United Nations, Ms. Helen Clark, Administrator of UNDP, ladies and gentlemen, Excellencies, youth organizations, youth delegates, participants, activists, academia, volunteers, interns, participants from New York in the balcony. Here, I thank you very much for your very active participation during this 2 days event. I started my with remarks of trying to list 10 things. It's 10 of the most common mistakes when it comes to youth development in my opening remarks. And I was watching and hearing during the sessions, and I have seen how many times they were used, actually. So I think out of good intentions, out of a lot of recognition for youth, but still sometimes I feel when it comes to youth and the way we describe their role or the way we would like to engage with them, I feel we still sometimes tend to use terms and words that are not necessarily what young people are looking for. And sometimes they are coming from young people themselves, demanding, please give us space, please listen to us. Or the other side of member states telling that we should open up for young people and debating whether young people are important or not. I have been meeting with youth organizations as much as I could. Over 100 missions almost in 3 years, meeting youth organizations almost everywhere. Never get a request to meet with a youth group or youth organization or send a video message or connect with a Skype call with youth organization. I said no. I've been trying to do everything in my power to speak up for young people and to bring their voices at the United Nations and beyond. But I was just wondering, as I was listening to many of the remarks during these 2 days, when are we going to move forward? When we are going to really unleash the power of this generation of young people? I was hearing some speeches talking about in 15 years. I have some bad news, actually. Do you know that 18 countries, their life expectancy is between 40 and 50 years old? So in 15 years, some youth now, they will not be even alive, not only young people. And I was always doubting what's wrong, how we can break this chain, how we can really invest in young people. We talk about laws, we need to change them, we need to listen to young people, open mechanisms, have more investments, increase resources. Why we don't do it? We need to move with this agenda. We need to do something really serious when we go back home to invest in this generation of young people. Can you believe it? 18 countries. You will be surprised who is in the list. Between 40 and 50 years old, their life expectancy. We need to do something serious about investing in this generation of young people. I'm very proud that we have been seeing this development in the ECOSOC Youth Forum and seeing that the United Nations in an annual forum bringing ministers of youth, youth delegates, youth representatives. But I will tell you the behind the scenes story, if you wish. The first official forum of the ECOSOC, or the first forum for the ECOSOC Youth Forum, was convened just around 5 years ago. So it's true that we have been talking about youth for centuries. But what's true as well, that it took almost 65 years to arrive to a forum. It took close to 50 years to have the World Program of Action for Youth. which, by the way, we don't know what's happening with the Water Program for Action for Youth. We don't have a reporting mechanism. We know very little about what's happening with the implementation of the Water Program for Action for Youth, and we are asking people to live up to their commitments, exactly like what you said, Mr. Clark. What's the point of commitments if we don't honor them? What's the point of making promises if we don't deliver on them? And we have been seeing this should not be the case. We need to do something about it. And when I listed the 10 mistakes I was talking about, we need to approach youth issues with a sense of urgency. We need to do something about youth policies in a meaningful way. And we know what works, by the way. My hope that when we meet next year at the ECOSOC Youth Forum, we will not talk about youth are important, because that's given now. We know youth are important. We know we need to work with young people. But I'll tell you what I hope we'll be doing next year. 5 years now of the ECOSOC Youth Forum, we're seeing a major mechanism for youth participation at the UN. But I will give you one example of the type of participants we have. There's something called Youth Delegate Program at the United Nations. I'll take this opportunity of having many ministers here. There's something called Youth Delegate Program at the UN. Member states, they can officially send youth delegates. Now, 90% of young people globally, they are coming from the South, the Global South. But 90%, and it was said during the forum, of the youth delegates are coming from the North. So I urge all member states to make sure that we have young people in the official delegations. That's an opportunity and we can do it. It could be a life-changing experience for them. When we started this year, we said we need to bring more youth from the Global South. And we need proper representation for young people. Even with the little budget I have to my office, I give half of the resources we have for travel to give it to other young people to fly and to participate in these meetings. We don't do tourism, by the way. This is not tourism. It's about the question of legitimacy. Half of the world's population under 25, they have to have a seat at the table. They have to be part of these processes. I was one of them. Back in 2011, there was a high-level meeting of the General Assembly. I came as a youth activist. And you have the clip somewhere in the UN Web TV. When I need to inspire myself, I go back and listen to that one. I was calling for more actions, calling for more mechanisms. And I've been trying my best here, but we need all to move together, guys. We really have to do something for this generation. It's about people. It's about people who have been taking the floor and talking, I need my government to listen to me. I need to be empowered. I need a job opportunity. I know the government, they can't find me a job. They can't offer me a job. But can at least they ease the taxes when I want to open a business. We can do so much to make the life of this generation of young people much easier. So here was what I'm saying, and I will conclude with this. The ECOSOC Youth Forum has been developing year after another and becoming a major platform for youth participation at the UN, bringing member states, bringing ministers of youth. By the way, without the ECOSOC Youth Forum, we would not have a mechanism to bring member states, particularly ministers of youth, together with young people. But that should not be enough now, because we have a plan for the world. 15 years plan for development, sustainable development. And my hope that as we are moving now to the implementation, we will honor these commitments and will report on the progress we are making. My last comment, Mr. President, many young people are talking about their participation in the SDGs. And they ask me sometimes, why there's no youth goal? There are 17 goals. I said we don't need more goals. Actually, we have more goals than the years to implement them. 17 is enough. But I'll tell you the secret. There is an invisible goal for youth. If you look to the 169 targets under education, under health, under climate change, and all these different goals, and combine them together, you will come up with that invisible goal. There is a youth goal that we will be collecting the data and we will be looking at other agencies how we can see what the progress we are making. So hopefully in the future, we're not only about the importance of youth, we're not talk only about the importance of youth participation, but we'll be talking about what happened since last year when we met here at the ECOSOC Youth Forum and what the progress we are making. and we should honor this commitment. It's about people, it's about the planet, it's about the prosperity of this people and this planet, and it's about peace, which is a commodity that is lacking in so many parts of the world. So that's my hope. I'm ending in a very positive note because I have so much hope in this generation of young people. I have seen just in 3 years how this thing has transformed, more interest from member states. I just ask you to keep pushing, keep implementing, and let's make sure when we meet at the 6th ECOSOC Youth Forum, we'll be talking about what the progress we have made, not only about the theoretical and the analytical question of how youth are important to development, peace, and prosperity. Let's get the job done, and let's start this process from now. This is a new era for this process of youth forums and for youth engagement at the United Nations. I just can't wait to switch gears to the implementation and to join all of you in making something special about getting this agenda done. I thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alhendawi, for your statement, for your passion and your dynamism. Once again, you proved that you are a great advocate for youth. I'm sure you will never grow old like Peter Pan. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished delegates, we have come to the end of a very successful and inspirational ECOSOC Youth Forum. Before we part, let me give some words of appreciation. We welcome, once again, the global initiative on decent jobs for youth launched by the ILO Director General Guy Ryder yesterday. I'm sure that this initiative will assist member states in targeting a crucial goal of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. I also thank all the speakers who shared their experiences and vision and ensured that we all leave this event more inspired than we were when we arrived. I also thank our committed partners and staff from the whole UN system who have supported the organization and preparations of this event and made the 2016 ECOSOC Youth Forum a great success. My special gratitude also goes to the members of the Children and Youth Major Group and the International Coordination Meeting of Youth Organizations, or ICMAYO, and its members for their contribution to the preparations of the program. And most of all, I thank each and every one of our enthusiastic participants who have enriched this forum with their valuable and creative ideas. Ladies and gentlemen, what have we learned from this forum? The challenges the youth is facing are real. Unemployment, poverty, climate change, inequality are some of the issues we need to address. In partnership with other stakeholders, young people are already taking action to implement Agenda 23. They play an important role in communicating around and advocating for the Sustainable Development Goals so that people all over the world know about these goals. Young people will also play an important role in holding the UN system and governments accountable to stay true to their promises and commitments. They will also play an important role in driving forward their own solutions to the challenges of our time as young entrepreneurs, professionals, and politicians. For this to happen, we need to ensure that our political institutions, from the UN to the local level, are inclusive, open, and participatory, so that the youth does have a strong voice in our world. Ladies and gentlemen, capturing everything that has been shared, discussed, and achieved during the last 2 days will yet again be an ambitious task. However, it is a task we will live up to, and I intend to issue a detailed summary of the messages and recommendations that emerged from this meeting. This summary will be transmitted to the Council at its high-level segment and the high-level political forum on sustainable development. In the meantime, I am issuing today a presidential statement, a copy of which you must find in front of you, which captures what I believe are the important outcomes of the forum. This statement will be shared with all member states as well as other key partners and stakeholders and the media. I'm confident this will provide good ground for our future work and spread the important lessons we have learned here. Let me once again congratulate you all for making the 2016 ECOSOC Youth Forum such a success. Thank you very much. Have a good trip. This meeting is adjourned.